Hey guys, welcome to Project Geekology, episode 16. 16, we're already double the average podcast length. You know, most podcasts quit after episode 8. We've doubled. So I think we are in the clear in terms of like whether or not this podcast is going to last. And we're very happy with the... we were actually just talking about it off air, talking about how nice it is to have consistency in terms of our downloads every episode. You know, we have a number of people who've continued to come back episode after episode, and we hope that you continue to do so. We appreciate everyone who has gone and shared the podcast or given reviews, so we thank you all for interacting with us in that way. But before we begin, my name's Dakota. I'm joined with, as always,
Anthony.
And we have a special guest who joins us again from the last episode.
Jenn. I'm becoming like I was saying, I'm like Yoko Ono. I'm just like showing up to all of them now.
Nope, not. I won't allow it.
That's good. Stand your ground, John.
Yeah, I'm gonna stand my ground, unlike John Lennon. But today we're going to be talking again about Avatar: The Last Airbender. And for those of you who aren't aware, we did a non-spoiler discussion / review of the entire series early in this podcast life. I think it was either the second or third episode that we ever did. But now for episode 16, we're going to be doing a full spoiler discussion about each of the characters that we liked, some of the bigger themes that we enjoyed from the Avatar series, as well as the way the show ended. We hope that you have watched the Avatar: The Last Airbender series. I personally believe it's the greatest American animated series of all time. And I know the other panelists here also truly enjoy it. To truly appreciate the series, I think you need to experience it first on your own terms, and then, you know, whether or not you want to listen to us or other, you know, discussions on the spoilery stuff of this show. That's up to you. But we are happy that you are here. We hope that you have watched Avatar at this point, and you can enjoy the conversation without being spoiled. We're going to be skipping our What We've Been Up To segment of the podcast because we are recording this directly after episode 15, the last week's discussion of The Mandalorian. So we haven't actually done anything besides use the bathroom since our last recording.
Yep.
But I'm going to hand it over to our guest this week to start our discussion off with Avatar: The Last Airbender. Maybe you can start us off by explaining or reiterating your connection with the show and talking about some of the bigger things that you liked about it.
So my connection was, it came out when I was in middle school, and I loved it. And my friends loved it. And then in high school, you know, my mom was like, stop watching kids shows, this is why you don't have a boyfriend, what's wrong with you? But I still loved it. And then when I got engaged, I showed it to Dakota, my then fiance, now husband. So suck it, Mom. You don't know anything.
That's how you get boyfriends.
That's how you get boyfriends with Avatar.
The only way. This is the way.
It's a fantastic show. I really love it. I think it has really complex themes, great character arcs, just so many things that I think you hadn't really seen in cartoons at the time. So I get why my mom might have thought, okay, that's a cartoon, that's elementary, like, please start watching more grown things, what's wrong with you? But it actually is a very mature show.
Yeah.
And I think it has some really interesting themes that still keep adults coming back to this day.
Yeah. Anthony, what did you grow up watching the show, or did you catch it later on, or what?
Oh, no. I had watched Avatar: The Last Airbender as it was coming out. I remember seeing like the initial trailers for it, and I thought it seemed pretty cool. So I started watching it. I think it had started when I was in 8th grade, and so I watched it as it was coming out at the end of middle school into the beginning of high school. There were a couple episodes that I had missed that I didn't catch until it came out on Netflix the first time around. It came out on Netflix like back in 2011, so I watched it from beginning to end without any disconnect. But I will agree with you in saying that to me it is one of the greatest cartoons I have ever seen. It is one of my favorites, if not my favorite. I've sworn by it. Like I've talked about it all the time. I think I've tried to get you into it. It wasn't until Jenn. Thank you, Jenn, for finally getting him to watch it, because
I don't know why I was so I wasn't like
against it. It's just you never got to it.
I just think you didn't care enough.
Yeah, it's one of those things like, oh yeah, I'll get to it. But I never did until Jenn mentioned that was like a big part of her youth and whatever. So because
he made me watch like a ton of stuff, and it was like annoying too, because he had all these franchises that I had to watch that are like huge franchises, talking like 8 movies long, and then like I got him to watch maybe Pride and Prejudice, and I was like, I need something to like get him to commit. Like I need this guy to like commit to something.
So she bought me the DVDs for Avatar, and that kind of changed the way I view cartoons in a way, which is crazy. Yeah, I ended up loving the series, and recently we made a pact with my father, who I knew would love the series, but would never give it a chance. And we were like, you have to watch through the entirety of Avatar The Last Airbender, and in exchange we'll watch whatever you want, or whatever you want us to watch. So he's always telling us, oh, you gotta watch this show, you gotta watch this show, and sometimes we do, sometimes we don't. He decided that what we had to watch was Cobra Kai, seasons 1 and 2 at the time. And he would then watch the first, or the only 3 seasons of Avatar The Last Airbender. And a couple weeks ago, he finally finished Avatar The Last Airbender, and we watched the 4-part finale with him, or the big movie episode with him, and he was blown away. And that just kind of, he's kind of like one of the gauges that I have for enjoyability. Like if I can get my dad to like it, then it has to be amazing, you know? So I was very happy that he finally got to, watch Sozin's Comet and all of that. Now we can finally talk about this on a spoiler cast type episode here on Project Geekology. And I'm happy about it, because I love the show. What are your favorite characters, guys?
Zuko.
Let's talk a little bit about Zuko's arc, because we couldn't really talk about it on the last episode.
He's like reverse Anakin, actually, now that I think about it.
Yeah?
It's like you see him going from the dark side, all scarred, and then coming into the light. Still a bit scarred.
He's going from killing children to saving them.
He's reverse Anakin.
What I particularly like about Zuko's character is something that I've mentioned on Geekritique, but I'm not sure if I've mentioned it here. It's the fact that in terms of children's entertainment, it's very rare for the antagonist character, the character that's actively going against the good guy, to get a redemption arc.
Yeah.
In children's literature, in children's TV, in children's movies, you never see that. The bad guy is the bad guy, and the good guy is the good guy throughout. Sometimes you have great characters in between them, and that's who, you're kind of... Uncle Iroh is the great character. He's on the bad side for the majority of the show, helping his nephew out, try to track down the Avatar. But you don't expect Zuko to finally make that switch until the show starts really fleshing out his character, and then you can start to see where the cracks in his facade are, why he's running away, or why he can't return to the Fire Nation. And he eventually is allowed the opportunity to make that switch, that jump to... I guess we can call it the light, because we were just talking about Star Wars for the previous episode, so I got that on my mind. But he does turn towards the good side, and he hangs for a couple episodes at least. He hangs out with Team Avatar,
which I wish we would have had more time with, like, the whole crew together. Like, that's my one gripe. It's like finally everyone's together, and then all of a sudden the show just like ends, and I'm like. I just remember when I was a kid being like, wait, but we're just getting to the good part.
It just got good.
It just got crazy good. Like, everyone's together.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember the last time that I had watched the show, I didn't realize how short that period of time was. I was like, man, I could have sworn it was a lot longer. But, no, I agree. I think Zuko's story is one of the best ones in the show. His redemption arc. And the reason why I like it so much is that it wasn't like a light switch. It was gradual.
Yeah.
It was organic. It made sense.
Good, has,
it wasn't like, oh, he's good all of a sudden. He had you saw the conflict that he went through, the internal conflict, you know, especially when he betrays his uncle later in the show, and you see how it like tears him apart over time. And he finally realizes that he was doing wrong this entire time. I do like that when Zuko joins Team Avatar, that they don't trust him right away. That it took a little bit for him to like say, hey, look, I'm trying to help out. It took for him to risk his life against that dude that he hired. That like really crazy dude that like shot explosive like bolts out of his like forehead.
That guy was cool.
Yeah, that was cool.
I remember being so scared of him. Like I was legit so scared.
I want to know the source of his power because like I mean he was like shooting it out of his like forehead.
What's so cool about Avatar? I always say that like what's so cool about this or that or what I love so much. But it's just one facet of a thing that I love, so I have to stop saying that. But one facet of a thing I really love about Avatar is how creative they are with their magic system, the creative concepts that they make for introducing new layers to it. Like that combustion guy, that's a mystery. We have no idea why he's able to do that.
Combustion,
but
man.
Combustion, or what is
Sokka called him
Sokka
Combustion Man or something like that.
Yeah, or boom guy or something like that. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I love Sokka.
Sokka's amazing.
Yeah.
We'll talk about Sokka in a little bit, but I love the creativity that they have with introducing new characters that you don't necessarily need the entire backstory to, but change the game up for the main cast of characters and also potentially alter how we view how their magic system works in the beginning, or like to begin with. And that's one of the cool things about that. And we start to see a little more of that with Toph, you know, the blind bandit, who is like one of the best earthbenders, if not the best earthbender the world has ever seen. And she can't even see. So it's like she's using seismic movements to help her see the world around her. And sometimes it's really heartwarming, and sometimes it's just really cool, you know?
Yeah.
Sometimes she just really kicks butt. And when she finally breaks that barrier of being able to suddenly realize that she can metal bend is one of the coolest moments in the show. You know, it just opens the door to so many possibilities of sub-bending types that just blows my mind, honestly. And that's both of those ideas are heavily played upon in the sequel series, Legend of Korra. You know, we're not going to talk too much about that here, but it's cool to know that the writers are constantly looking at ways to expand and dive deeper into concepts.
Yeah, I thought that was cool also because they kind of showed that, like, they showed growth within the bending.
Mm-hmm.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like I remember there was an episode prior to that where, like, prior to her being put in the metal box and like realizing she could bend metal. Mend metal. There was like, I think they were like going to go on a ship or some kind of aircraft or something, or maybe it was when they were going to storm the walls for Beijing in that metal thing. And remember, she says something like, "I'm not going in that metal thing. Like, I'm blind in there." She says like, "No way," or something. I think that was like a fear of hers. So they literally put her in her worst fear situation where she could not see at all, not even with her bending. And that's what pushed her to like learn this new skill that she didn't know she had, which I thought was really cool.
And that's actually a really important facet to characters' origin stories. Mm-hmm. You know, I recently made that video on Batman Begins and how the entire movie is about how he's using his fear he's overcoming his fear and using it against his enemies. So Toph literally overcame her fear of blindness, and she didn't want to get onto that metal ship or whatever, because she was scared of not being able to see through the ripples and the earthbending that she was capable of doing. When she was imprisoned in that little metal cage, she used that against her enemies, similarly to, Batman using the bat as his symbol, just become the person that he was evolving into. And I love Toph. I think she's probably my favorite character, just in terms of that's like one of the best written, cool, powerful female characters, period.
I like how she's introduced. It's really funny.
Mm-hmm.
It is, yeah.
Like a
forgot about
like a wrestling match type thing, and I like that dude that she faces off because he kind of reminds me of like Randy the Macho Man Savage, the Boulder.
Yeah,
he's like, I'm gonna take her down. Oh my gosh. Yeah, no, it's really funny. Yeah, but it's really cool though because it shows you how she uses that seismic sensing, and it kind of reminds me of Daredevil in a way.
Yeah, they definitely molded her character a little bit off of Daredevil.
Totally different personality, though. At least,
yeah.
She has
No, of course. Like she's that. I mean, she's got that tough personality because, she's a female that's blind that was pretty much coddled her whole life, so she wants to pretty much like show that she can handle herself, and I mean, she can. Mm-hmm. She can handle herself all too well.
We also learn a little bit about the lore behind where these bending techniques come from with Toph. In her like background story, in her flashbacks, we see her as a child getting lost in the caves, like beneath Ba Sing Se, and she is introduced, or she finds those giant mole creatures. I forget what they were mixed with. All animals except for bisons are mixed with something in the Avatar world. But the moles that were digging through the earth were like the founders of earthbending, and she was able to learn from the masters themselves. And I love that. I think they take little things here and there from different intellectual properties. Like that kind of reminds me of Luke learning the Force from some green guy on Dagobah.
Some green guy.
Some green dude. Master Yoda.
No, I agree. I like that how each element has a creature that's tied to it, and that those are the masters. Those are the ones that started all that. Like the firebending has the dragons, earthbending has the moles, airbending is the flying bison, and the waterbending is
I don't think we have an answer to that, actually.
The moon spirit or something like that. I
don't
know if it's the animal, but
the moon influences the other.
Oh, that's an interesting point. Yeah, they do talk about how the moon is an influence on like the tides, and that's how the first benders, they started pushing and pulling the tides, and that's how they started learning. But I don't know. I think there is like an actual animal that they learn their techniques from that we aren't privileged to like know at this point. Like, I don't think we know that information. It might be the moon, though. You might be right. You might be onto something.
We'll be back after a quick break.
I hate talking.
Do you love talking about any topic and are never frustrated during conversations? Then I Hate Talking is not a podcast for you.
But if there are topics that you avoid, then listen to I Hate Talking.
Do you know the definition of every word others use? I Hate Talking is not a podcast for you.
But if you are curious about the definition and historical usage of words, then listen to I Hate Talking.
Do you know about current events and other random topics? Then I Hate Talking is not a podcast for you.
But if you enjoy conversations on a variety of topics, then listen to I Hate Talking.
Listen to I Hate Talking wherever you get your podcasts.
Episodes drop every Thursday. Listen, like, and follow I Hate Talking today.
But we also know that like big lion turtle dude gives them the powers.
Yeah, but I don't think that that's mutually exclusive. I think the lion turtles unlocked that power within individual people, but in terms of the techniques that they would use to fully train in those abilities, they learned from the moles or the sky bison or the dragons.
Oh, that's cool.
I like that story of the first Avatar.
Yeah, I like that a lot.
That was really
actually.
cool that he goes to the different lion turtles. And it's crazy because they have like these cities on their back, and that each one has an element that the people of that city know. And he goes to each one and gets those elements. And it's crazy because he gets tricked by that one spirit to like help save him, and then he has to like take it down. It's crazy because it shows like the origins of somebody taking on more than one element, and how that person has to be the balance between the spirits too, like the physical realm and the spirit realm. So I thought that was really cool, and I like how the art style of that was different from the rest of the show.
Yeah,
it was cool.
Really cool too. Yeah, I liked that.
That is in Legend of Korra, by the way.
Is that Legend of Korra?
Oh.
Yeah, it's Legend of Korra.
It is in Legend of Korra. Okay.
Yeah, so sorry if we spoiled that for you guys, but it shouldn't come as a surprise.
I don't think that's a big spoiler.
I don't think it's a spoiler.
It's just
it's a really awesome episode, actually. It's 2 episodes that they explore the origins of the Avatar with Avatar 1.
Dude, I totally got that blended.
I remember when I...
It's relevant, though.
It is relevant, and the idea of like the lion turtles. We should talk a little bit about that, because the lion turtles don't really show up, or they don't show up until the first part of the 4-part finale that they turned into like a TV movie. So in many ways, some people consider it like probably the biggest Deus Ex Machina moment of the entire show, because
I remember feeling that way. I was like, where did this guy come from? Like, who is this guy? He just has abilities? Like, what? Like, I was like kind of shocked. But then when you start thinking about the fact that throughout the entire show, Aang has had a connection with animals, you're like, okay, I kind of see it. So, but I was happy to get more of an explanation on that.
Even if he did have a connection with animals, that doesn't necessarily. It is a little bit of a moment where someone comes in to save the day in a way, or like gives him a new ability that you would have never expected him to get. Apparently, there were a couple like episodes that they never actually got to run, and there was one episode where Aang spent a significant portion of his time in the spirit realm. And that's also where he's first introduced to the lion turtles. That was never shown.
That makes sense.
That was never shown in any episode. They have like storyboard layered episodes, like in the special features of DVDs, that you can go and watch these moments. But in terms of the actual show, it is a little disappointing that they never gave a better reason for him showing up, basically at that one perfect moment. But at the end of the day, it is a kids show. You kind of have to suspend your disbelief a little further, because it's not always going to be on par with adult entertainment or whatever.
Right, because he kind of like shows up on the back of this lion turtle. Like,
the lion turtle, or he falls asleep hoping to find an answer to his dilemma, which is, how do I stop the Fire Lord without killing him? How do I...
I'm only laughing because Kiyoshi.
Okay.
He's such a savage.
So the lion turtle shows up while he's sleeping. He sleepwalks onto the lion turtle and wakes up on it, and in so doing, he he has these visions with past avatars. He goes through Roku, he goes through Kiyoshi, he goes through Kuruk, Yang Chen. I think that's all of the ones that he goes through. But with Kiyoshi, she's a savage, you know. She's
classic bougie ratchet.
Yeah, she has probably been the longest living avatar at around 230 years of age for whatever reason. She's like,
everyone was too scared of her to kill her.
I guess, yeah, but no, she's like, in my time, I needed to do what I needed to do, and Aang was like, but you didn't kill Chin the Conqueror, and she goes, I don't see the difference.
and I think she literally too is like, I would have if I had to, like,
yeah,
like she would have went and killed him if she had to. It just happened to work out for her.
And then Aang was like, I knew I shouldn't have asked Kiyoshi. So I love the interaction and the differences.
That's like one of my favorite scenes, like in the whole show, actually.
Yeah.
Well, they have like that whole episode of him pretty much like clearing the Avatar's name for killing Chin the Conqueror.
Yeah.
And then I think she says that, like, same difference.
Which is actually one of my favorite episodes because while it's kind of like a funny, like, whodunit type thing, Sokka and Katara are on this like journey. They're going, and Sokka's like pretending to be like a Sherlock Holmes type character, but at the end of it, you learn a lot about the history of this world. You learn a lot about the history of the Avatar and like what her and his role is in the scheme of things. And it's amazing that even in like the seeming filler episodes, you're learning about the world around them. You're learning about their plight. You're learning about what they need to do to finish the job that they've started. And I think that it's the type of world building I love most. You know, you can have fun, but also learn and, learn about the culture and about the people who lived before your time. You know, I think that's so cool.
Yeah.
And they did it in a practical way. They actually brought Kiyoshi back. She's just like, I killed Chin the Conqueror. You know, when she shows up. Yeah, it was a good time.
Can we talk about Katara being like type annoying? Because that's something that comes up. Like, I follow the Avatar subreddit, and like that's like a frequent joke of like how freaking annoying Katara can be, because she'll be like to Avatar, like, you don't understand, my mom's dead, and it's like his whole village was like murdered, and because they were looking for him, and he never even got the chance to meet his parents, because by the time he woke up, they were dead too. So, you know, Katara, shut up. And the same with Zuko. It's like he hasn't seen his mom in forever, and he doesn't even know if she's alive. But my mom's dead. It's like, okay, Katara, get a life.
Yeah, Katara does have the capacity to be annoying, but at the end of the day, she's what, 12? So it's understandable that, you know, a 12-year-old would have some angsty elements to her that are very short-sighted and could potentially hurt others around her. But
wait, are they really that young at the end of the show? I feel like they're a bit older than that. They're all like making out with each other.
I'll look it up really quick.
I mean, no matter the age, Katara is robbing the cradle, so...
She robbing it.
Yeah, so Aang is technically over 100 years old, but he's biologically a 12-year-old. And Katara is between 12 and 14.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so they're kids. But what I do love about Katara is that she does come into her own, and she does become like the leader that the team needs. In certain moments. In other moments, Sokka takes the lead. In other moments, Aang takes the lead. But a lot of times, she's the mom of the group. And that's kind of necessary when you have a group of
children,
preteens trying to save the world.
Yeah.
I liked how Zuko was like... Aang was like, no, you don't need to avenge your mother. And Zuko was like, I'll help. I've been going after revenge my whole life. It hasn't gotten me anywhere, but I'll help you get revenge.
Right? I really like Sokka's character. Sokka is the comic relief. I do believe that he comes in clutch in the moments when he's needed. You know, like sometimes, I mean, he really is like kind of brushed off a lot of the times as the comic relief of the group. But there is that moment where he goes and he trains with that master, you know, to become a better fighter, where they realize how much they do need Sokka.
Yeah.
And it's crazy. I actually loved that moment because it's like he might have not have seemed much, but he really was.
Yeah, it's
was
almost
much
like one of
needed.
those. He's kind of like a. I don't want to say he's like a Han Solo because I don't think he's as crucial to the plot as like a Han Solo type character is. But in terms of their team dynamic, he's totally essential at grounding them because you have a team full of very powerful benders, and he's the only one. He's the oldest of them who has no bending abilities whatsoever to speak of. But somehow he keeps them down to earth. He understands like the average person's plight better than the rest of them, I think. What I love about Sokka is that, like you said, he does train with that master in sword fighting, but he also, throughout the series, he has some of the best arcs. Like he has the arc with what's the girl's name from the end of season 1 who becomes the moon?
Yue? Oh, Yue?
Yue. I was gonna call
fine.
her Yuki, but I'd be
Oh, that's sad.
yeah.
Poor Yue had to watch him
Yeah.
make out with Suki.
Yeah.
The big sad.
Yeah. Right. My girlfriend turned into the moon. That's rough, buddy.
Oh my gosh.
What I like about Sokka is that he never stopped learning. You know, like everywhere that they went, he would like get the like tool that they used and learned how to be proficient with it. And he didn't let the fact that you never heard him complaining, oh, well, I'm the only one who's like, he would say jokes and stuff about it, but he kept busy. He like kept finding ways to make himself useful instead of just letting that make him kind of a dud, which I think is kind of cool.
I do like how you said that he keeps them grounded because he does provide that perspective of a non-bender, you know, that he can, that he's that person that can speak for a non-bender on how certain things or how certain things might appear to a non-bender, you know? So he was really like having a non-bender in that group was actually a lot more crucial than just him providing this and that. Like just having him there was like, you know, this person's a non-bender. There's ways that you have to be able to interact with non-benders. And so I think that his character provided that. And I thought that was really cool because I don't think that there was any moment in the show where I was like, oh man, you know, he sucks, he doesn't bend, you know?
Right. A little detail I noticed on my most recent viewing of the finale of Avatar: The Last Airbender was some of the wounds on Aang's body. And there's one scene where I noticed he had a wound on the bottom of his on the bottom of the sole of his foot, and I was like, when did he get hurt there? And I thought about it, and it finally clicked. The moment that he was shot in the back with lightning, that's when he got that that wound on the bottom of his foot. So lightning or electricity is always searching for ground. If you touch something that's electrical, it'll go through your body, but it will go down. It'll go towards the ground. It's always searching for ground. And that's why, like, when I'm an electrician on the side, or in, you know, in the front, I don't know. That's what I do with my day job. When you're doing anything with electricity, you have to, I'm trying to explain this in a way that everyone can understand, but when you're connecting things, you have to
ground yourself.
Like, kind of, you have to ground yourself. How do I explain? You have to make sure that the electricity, if there's any offshoot of electricity, any surge, it gets grounded to the electrical box or something else that, you know, will stop the pull of electricity. But what happens here is, what happened with Aang was it was shot into him, and because the electricity searches for ground, it basically burned everything inside his body down to his foot. So the wound that you're seeing actually goes a lot deeper because that's an actual thing that happens. And I've seen pictures like in like training classes of like feet just being blown out because of electricity. Yeah. It's a scary thing, but it's that's one of the coolest little details that I never would have expected to see from the Avatar series, and I don't think most people notice because they don't understand why he would have that injury to begin with. So it's a cool little detail that I noticed.
No, it's cool.
That's very cool.
And something that kind of ties this episode to the last episode was prior to the Clone Wars, Dave Filoni actually worked on this show. Mm-hmm. So that's a cool little...
I think it was... Didn't, like, they ask him to do this, like, to work with Star Wars because of his work with Avatar, or am I exactly
I mean,
right?
we don't know exactly if it was because of Avatar: Last Airbender that he got called in to work with Lucas, but if you watch the Mandalorian 8-part like making of series for like season 1 of the Mandalorian, Dave Filoni kind of tells a little anecdote of how he met George Lucas for the first time, and he talks about how he was working in Nickelodeon on this show called Avatar: The Last Airbender. He was a director for that show, and he was called in to talk about an upcoming animated cartoon series called Clone Wars. That's his gateway story into meeting Lucas and joining Lucasfilm.
Yeah, it's actually a pretty funny story because he's thinking the whole time that it's the people working on SpongeBob messing with him.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. He thought he was being punked.
Yeah, I love that. That's
by
so
the
good.
cat, by the producers of SpongeBob. That's crazy. Yeah, no, that's hilarious.
Really funny.
I mean, that just goes to show you that the Avatar really had a really strong crew, working it. And we talked a bit about the voice acting cast and the non-spoiler episode. And, I mean, it's crazy. Like, who was in it? I mean, Mark Hamill as Fire Lord Ozai. I mean, you wouldn't have thought that was him unless you actually looked it up.
Mark Hamill has such a great range.
He really does.
You know who I realized I didn't recognize in the voice cast that I recognize now is the voice actor for Zuko. He is played by Dante Bosco, who we also talked about in our Hook episode because he played Rufio in Hook.
Rufio.
Oh my goodness. Connection, cross promotion.
Yeah, you guys gotta watch our Hook episode because that was a pretty good one too.
Iroh's my personal favorite. I absolutely love Iroh. He's the ground to Zuko. I mean,
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Iroh was quote unquote on the bad side, but he wasn't 100% on the bad side. He was pretty much on the transition prior to the start of the show. Like, you knew that he was there to support his nephew and his endeavors, and he would have done whatever his nephew needed. But I think that if the time, say hypothetically, Zuko had captured the Avatar earlier in the show, but successfully, and was taking him to the Fire Lord, I think that Iroh would have intervened and would have really tried to stop him, or would have tried to steer him.
That is an interesting point, actually.
Yeah, because with the White Lotus, he probably would have done that. That's I hadn't thought about that.
I love.
He was
Iroh's
strategically just waiting, kind of like Boomy.
Iroh is he's such a crazy character because he's one of the characters. He's also comic relief, but he's also a really endearing character. But he's also really just Beast. Remember that
prison
prison scene where he's working out and he gets super buff?
Yeah.
Yeah. He in many ways is the Mr. Miyagi of the show.
Yes.
He's the voice of reason. He's the one bringing out all the philosophical phrases that you know and love from Uncle Iroh.
Mm-hmm.
And
has a lifetime of regret.
Yeah. There's actually a lot of parallels you can probably make to Mr. Miyagi. I love Uncle Iroh, and I continue to love Uncle Iroh into some of the flashbacks we receive in Legend of Korra as well.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to talk too much about that, but the character is such a beloved character. Speaking to my dad, he was my dad's favorite character as well, just because he's such a well-rounded individual. Like you were saying, Anthony, he's hanging out on the wrong side, but he knows the right path, and he's trying to guide his nephew towards doing the right thing at all times. And a lot of times, thinking about what you were saying just now about how you don't think that he would have allowed or he would have tried to steer Zuko away from returning the Avatar to the Fire Lord. A lot of times throughout the series, it's Uncle Iroh's, I don't want to say negligence, but it's his unwillingness to act in a timely manner that kind of stops Zuko from getting the job done. And I wonder if that's intentional. Now that you mention it, like, I wonder if he's purposely, just playing the drunken master type character.
Actually.
To a point where, like, he's teaching Zuko lessons by not doing anything.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny though, because Iroh's character, or Iroh, kind of gets stuck in Zuko's mind, because like there will be moments where there's those moments where Zuko wasn't with Iroh and he's thinking like Iroh, and he's like, what would he do? Or, oh my gosh, I'm speaking like him now. It's funny how he kind of like became like an earworm to or an earwig to Zuko. I remember one episode, and it was a filler episode, and it was like a multi-part like filler episode, the Tales of Ba Sing Se, and like his part in that one was like the best, because it just shows his character and like how all he wants to do is help. I'm not gonna lie, that episode actually made me shed a tear, because like he's celebrating his late son's birthday, who dies at the siege of Ba Sing Se, and he holds a lot of regret for that too, because he blames himself on that.
Yeah.
And
he says something along the lines of, I wish I could have helped you out like I'm helping Zuko out.
He said
moment.
Yeah, he said something along the lines is like, happy birthday, my son. If only I could have helped you. You know?
Yeah, that's what he said. That like kind of tears into you, because in that moment you're like, man, like, he holds this like, so it's a burden to him. It's amazing what they can tell you about who the son is, why Uncle Iroh is so distraught by it, how much he cares for Zuko, how much he wishes his son was still alive, in just so few words. Like you said, the phrase that you just repeated, it's literally like one line. Mm-hmm. But they're able to tell a whole story, a whole lifetime of story with that one line, because you can just infer so much from the heartbreak that you're feeling in that moment. The writing on the show throughout is so fantastic, and especially in those moments where you're not expecting to be hit in that kind of way.
Right.
It's pretty incredible. The Tales of Ba Sing Se, I think, if I remember correctly, it's a 2-part episode where they go through like little mini episodes or little mini adventures with different characters. A lot of the mini stories are kind of cute, kind of funny, kind of a little bit heartwarming. But that's the one that like hits you in the feels, sucker punches you right in the face.
And he has a little bit of a funny moment in the beginning of his segment Like, I mean, like, you know, he helps a little kid. He plays that song that is kind of like the theme of his segment, the little soldier boy. And I like that
Soldier
one
Boy,
part
tell
where these Earthbender kids, they're like playing this game. They like knock this ball into this window. And there's like this big guy like behind it. He's like, "I'm gonna get you, kids!" And he's like, "It's in these moments where you should be, or you should like tell the truth, or like, you know, be truthful." He said, "But at this time, run!" And like they all like just start running, including him. It's so funny. Like there's just so many reasons why I like Iroh, because I mean there's so much that you can learn from him. You know, like you were saying, just the show. The reason why I feel like it's one of the best cartoons I've seen is the fact that it has the ability to invoke emotion, just like various different types, not just comical, but you're feeling the intensity of a moment, or you're feeling the heaviness of a moment, or you're feeling the triumph of a moment.
Or the whole weight of the war, you know?
Yeah.
The war that's raging around them. You understand, especially at the end of the series, that it's these kids that are at the front of this, world war, basically, is what it is. And you have this tyrannical rule who's trying to siege and destroy the rest of the world. And all life hangs in the balance of these few young people, and also the White Lotus. But you know, it's really impressive what they're capable of doing with the show, and it doesn't make it makes it plausible that these kids would be at the forefront of it all. You know, they could have made the show about how they're rallying a big army to defeat the Fire Nation, but because of the Avatar's precarious situation in terms of like being running away from the Fire Nation, they never really get the opportunity to raise an army. But throughout the show, they meet several individuals who are willing to help, who in the end come to their aid. And it's awesome seeing those characters return, have a little moment in the limelight, and do their duty in the war. And it's such a well-crafted show. I love it so much, man.
Yeah, good job,
Same.
Jen. Thank you for finally bringing him on board.
Yeah. Oh, one final thing before we wrap this episode up. I love Appa, but I love that episode where it's just Appa's journey.
Oh my
or
God.
Appa's.
Talk about
Oh,
heartbreak. 808
yes.
heartbreak, am I right?
I absolutely
man.
love Appa's character. He's like,
He's the best.
it's kind of like Ashitaka's Red Elk from Princess Mononoke. It's Appa's a character that doesn't talk at all, except for makes grunts and stuff, and you absolutely
You
love
love
the
him.
character because you know
When
like
Appa
how
goes
vital
missing-
he is to the operation. And like
Yeah.
when he gets kidnapped and like the heartbreak of Aang, like you feel it. That's how well the writing of this show is. Like you feel it, and like when they reunite, like it's such an amazing moment. Like you feel it. They did the writing on that show is just fantastic from beginning to end.
They should have just had the Fire Lord steal Appa, and then Aang would have killed him, no problem. Actually, when Appa goes missing, like you see a whole side to Aang that you didn't know was there. But that's like the last of his family and the last of his home before, going in the ice. So it's like losing Appa is like would be a catastrophe for him.
What's great about that episode, for me, is the fact that they are doing something experimental in that episode. All the main cast that can speak is not there. The episode is entirely from Appa's point of view, and if the episode was narrated by Appa and it's like in his voice, like in his head, it wouldn't have been half as impactful as just understanding the behavior of this animal, the behavior of this person, really, because it's a conscious being. and you're able to see the struggle and the torment that this creature goes through in 20 minutes or so, and it's terrible, it's heartbreaking, and you just want it to end. You just want Aang to finally meet Appa again, because the past couple episodes he hasn't seen Appa, and you've been like, where the heck has Aang been?
Yeah.
And you realize that Appa's been very close to Aang and Team Avatar throughout the course of the past couple episodes. They've been like almost like circling around each other in terms of like where they've been, and finally being reunited is awesome. But yeah, when you finally see Aang go into the Avatar state because those guys sold Appa into slavery, is like one of the best moments of the show, because you're like, wow, Aang is about to whip butt right now, and
yeah, he turns into Batman.
He doesn't, because Katara
More like
grabs
John
him.
Wick, am I right?
I like that monk that Appa comes across, because like he can kind of sense that Appa has been through a lot, and he says something along the lines of, it was like he's like, fear or mistrust has crept in where love should, and it was such a great part, because like Appa, like he just doesn't trust anybody because he's been through a lot, and like this monk spends so much time trying to gain his trust. I think he realizes his connection to the Avatar, and so that's how he kind of gets that message to the Avatar. Because remember, I think at that moment the Avatar has lost his connection to the spirit realm because of the lightning, and he was trying to get it back.
Yeah. So that little moment that you just spoke about, where the monk says fear and mistrust have crept in where love should be, or something like that, is really interesting, because you see that a lot with animals that have been abused. Their personality changes. When you get like rescue dogs or whatever, a lot of times they have mental problems or trust problems because of how they were treated or handled previously, and it's really sad. But it's one of those little details that like the writers realized, by sprinkling a little bit of truth into fiction, it makes the world so much more believable. And it's one of those things that like it's a terribly real thing that happens, but can make your fictional world also like believable, and have more of an impact on the emotions of the viewers, because people clearly love Appa and stuff.
Yeah. I think like one of my favorite moments like with Appa, and it happens throughout the show, is like when like Appa is happy to see Sokka, and he like always like licks him.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
I love that. All right, we should close this out. It's getting late on our side, and
yes.
I have work early in the morning. But thank you, Anthony, for doing not just this episode, but the previous Mandalorian episode, and thank you, Jenn, for being with us the whole time. Any final thoughts on Avatar: The Last Airbender?
it's a good show. It's really good.
It's really good, man.
It's really good. Don't mess with Appa, because we'll all come after you.
We should eventually do a Legend of Korra episode, and I think we'll do it more like this episode. Instead of talking about non-spoilers, we'll just talk about the things we liked of Legend of Korra. So we'll let you guys know when we're going to be doing that, so you can catch up on Legend of Korra. But obviously, I do think it's a show that you should watch. Not as strong, in my opinion, as the original Avatar series, but it has its strong points, and some points are even stronger than points in Avatar. So we'll talk about that at another time. But we want to close this episode out. Anthony, you have any final thoughts for the people back home?
To the folks back home, if you've listened to this whole episode and have not seen the Avatar, stop what you're doing now and watch it. It's worth it. Jenn said it plainly but perfectly. It's a good show. It's a cartoon, but it's a good show. Don't let,
I'm known for
if
my
you're
eloquence.
somebody that doesn't like to watch cartoons, just think of it as a really good story that's animated.
Yeah, definitely.
And yeah, it's just like we've said multiple times in this episode, this is literally like one of my favorite cartoons to ever exist. How about you, Dakota? Got any last remarks?
Well, I mean, I've grown to love the show so much that I've started collecting the comic books, and recently a follower of Geekritique, Zach Hall, has gifted me with the final book that I was missing, and I'm very grateful for that. So thank you, Zach. You are awesome. I'm looking forward to reading that Legend of Korra book. And for those of you who don't know, the comics that come out are canonical. They're shepherded by the creators of the show, even though they're written by comic book writers, and they follow the events after Avatar: The Last Airbender and after The Legend of Korra. So those stories continue in the comics, which is why I don't think we're ever going to get like a follow-up season or a follow-up series to shows that like Star Aang or Star Korra or whatever. But I do hope we get more Avatar shows in the future, and I think we will. I think they're working on something as we speak. But thank you guys for listening. Thank you for joining us on episode 16. We hope you join us on episode 17. We have a special episode that we have been talking about doing for many months now. We're going to be doing a Mulan comparison of the original film, our original animated film, and the recent 2020 remake. So we look forward to doing that for our next episode, episode 17. Thank you so much for listening again. If you haven't checked out our socials, you can find them at PGeekology on Twitter and Project Geekology on Instagram. All of that is in the show notes, so you can click to your heart's content to different places. Go follow us there. We talk a little bit about like what we're working on, what we're watching, and what we're doing, and other geeky stuff related to the show. But thanks, guys.
Yes, if you'd give us a follow on those social media platforms, that'd be great. Something that I had talked about before in the past, and we'll probably do it in the upcoming future, is maybe setting up a Discord channel for Project Geekology, so that everybody can kind of get together and we can kind of make our own Project Geekology community and
talk about the episodes a little bit more. Yeah,
exactly. And we can speak to you guys a little bit more directly. And if you guys have not given us a review, we would greatly appreciate a positive review. We read every single one. It's not like we get like thousands a day. So we read every single, we read every single review, and every time we get a new one, it really does like brighten up our day, and it does a lot for us. And thank you for those who come weekly and listen to us and offer feedback, and we do have some regulars, and we like to recognize you guys, and we thank you for coming weekly, and we can't wait to get that Mulan episode out to you, and thank you for just being there, and hope you have a great rest of your week. How about you, Jen? You have any closing remarks?
No. Bye, everybody.
All right, guys. Have a good one.
Bye.